Okay, guys, let's get started here. They got all kinds of colorations. Let's go ahead and put all this stuff back. Okay. Whew. Let's see if we can wake up a little bit. So we got a couple of check 38s done. The second one done this morning. So that leaves the third one of this group. Let's get the little fan going here. Oh, is it not connected? There we go. Get everything in order here. All right. So we got 131, 133. This is going to be 134. What happened to 132? We don't know. It's just fishing accident. Who knows? Who knows what the heck happened to it? And here we are at the stage of doing the numbering. Now, one thing I don't like about this Plastic Soldier Company turrets is they have this sink mark here that's kind of an eyesore. And I didn't do a good job of covering it, and we'll have to come back to that. School sucks. Absolutely. But you got to go to school, because otherwise work's going to suck even worse. Good evening, folks. All right, let's fire this up, and then we can flip this thing around so I don't seem like I'm a left-handed painter. I am not a left-handed painter. I can't do just about anything with my left hand. Let's fire this thing up. All right. And I think we might be able to get this guy done tonight. And that means tomorrow morning we can start on the next group. We've got 3 more to do. All right, we're gonna do. You can do it. It's one of the things I say all the time. All right, let's go to analytics. Come on, give me a screen so I can flip this thing around, because I can't see through this thing. Come on. There we go. All right. So let's take this and we're going to go all the way around. We're not going to have any painting tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is my monthly model meeting. So won't be doing any of that. Did we accidentally press something? Sons of bitches. No green screen. Good Lord. I had no intention of doing that. They have so many options on this thing. Do you want to use a green screen? No, I would just like to look at my phone and it not be reversed. You know? Oh. And done. There we go. Okay. All right. Make sure we're plugged in. We are. Okay. All right. So let's continue on the next Panzer 38T. And I need to do this one. We're going to do a little bit different. I've been wanting to make them differently. We're going to put some tools on the side of this one. I'm going to put them here. So if we end up putting a little cross there, I don't want to put it somewhere it's going to be covered. So I think we're going to put the cross at the front here. Okay. And then on this side, how'd this one that was doing it at the front turn out? Yeah, it turned out pretty good. We'll do this one at the front as well. So both crosses on the front here. And gray as well. And the number, this is also going to be a 1. And this will be 134. Okay, so let's do the numbers first. So we're going to get our palette here, also known as just a plastic lid. Put some water here. Allows me to adjust how thick I want it to be. We're going to need some yellow, and we're going to need some flat earth, and a wee tad of white. School does suck. You know, the worst thing about school is that have something to do and putting it off and staying up all night to do a paper. Papers are the worst things. I don't mind tests. Papers. God, I hate papers. All right. 134, huh? All right. So on this side, I'm going to paint us a 1. Little 20th Panzer Division symbol there. I guess anybody that signs in today decided not to go on a St. Patrick's Day drinking expedition. And then 134 on the back. So put the 3 in the middle first. I'm going to do an open 4 like that. All right, then we're going to take some of this brown that we just had. We're going to mix maybe about 50-50 with this beautiful Phoenix Flames. It doesn't cover worth a damn, but that's pretty standard fare for all yellows. They don't cover great. And then the 134 on the back. Yeah, I really do like the yellow markings. They stand out nice on this gray, especially because there's a little bit of a blue tint to it. A little bit of the blue tint to this gray. And I happen to like it. That number's not centered, and the problem is that if you put the 3 in the middle, the 4 ends up taking up more space than the 1. It looks like it's off the one side. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to do a little something. I'm going to do a little something. And I might regret this or I may not. We're going to do a little something on this turret. We're going to put a little cross back there too. On that other side. This little symbol is supposed to be the symbol of the Brandenburg Gate. As I guess this unit had its barracks near there or something like that. Was raised from that area, something like that. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly what it is. I'm sure someone will correct me. Stylized little mini Brandenburg Gate. Maybe just a little bit more white in it. Now, I don't mind paying the numbers because I can make whatever numbers I want, not limited to whatever's on a decal. And you think, well, there's lots of decal options. There really aren't. I was really surprised how few decal options there were. Okay, so then we got the ones on there. Let's put the little Balkan and cross on there now. So for that, we're going to get a little bit of black with the white. Put a new batch of water here to work with. Six people that didn't go drinking today, or maybe you are. I'm double fisting it myself between iced coffee and soda. All right, so this is not the really good one, but I want to use one that is a little thicker. That way you don't have to do two passes on the thickness of this. This should be just fine. So what we're going to do is let's make a kind of a dirty white. Light gray kind of thing. All right, we're going to put, again, we just want something that when we put the center color in, there's some of this left over on both sides. Little cross there. Little cross there. One on the smoke grenade launcher here. Or smoke candles, as they were called. And I'm going to put one on the back of the turret over here, because I've got some space to play with. Okay, a smaller one. All right. Now we're going to switch to black. We're just going to this precision one. And that's what I do is I'll take I have a brush that's really good, and I'll relegate it. Oh, I'm already making a mistake. And I'll relegate it to a less important duty. So I have like the first brush that's really detailed. I'll use it for faces. When it starts getting a little, then we can use it for doing other precise things, but that aren't a face. Because really, a face and like the numerals are like the most detail-oriented stuff that you need. The other stuff, if the brush has a little bit of a bend in it or something, it's not the end of the world. But you want to save the ones that are the most precise for the faces. And even with proper care, eventually they'll start going south. All right, so I'm going to mix a little bit of this Panzer gray and a little bit of the Luftwaffe uniform. So we get a color similar to what the whole of the vehicle is painted. And we're going to come in and we really just want to put the center, we want the center line of this cross. And this is going to represent a cross that's basically open. So we don't have black in the middle. It is just a gray in the center. And we'll do the same thing up here. Saves you a lot of time not having to spend all the time looking through your decals. Or realizing you don't have any and then wanting to order them and then wait for them to come in and the cost. And now some things I'm going to order, like, if I'm doing like 7th Armored Division, I'm not going to hand paint little Jeroboas. That's a bit extreme. And this little one right here. I don't know how this one's going to turn out on the turret. I think it'll be okay. All right, then we're going to mix up some white. Are these hitting the table? You didn't see my response? You didn't see my response? You've not been watching my program. So, no, I'm not going to, they'll never travel to recon. And there's multiple reasons for that. And I'll be happy to tell you why. And there's many of them, and they all carry a fair amount of weight to them. First of all, I don't want to be rushed. And the idea that I have to play a session that has only 4 hours, and that involves setup time and takedown time and all of that. There just isn't enough time. There's too much background noise. It's too loud. The lighting isn't great. And honestly, I don't want to run a game that I don't get to pick who's in it. And you're not the problem, but I looked at some pictures of the last convention that was in Jacksonville, and I was planning on going by there, but the day that I happened to be in Jacksonville the same day, and the day that I went by there, it just literally I ran out of time, and I made a left turn at Albuquerque. I got off on the wrong. I didn't get off on the wrong exit, but I needed to get over one lane and I couldn't. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna go home. And I had seen pictures of some folks that are there, and I saw pictures of two people that I've played games with before at Recon/Huracan before, and it's none of the DBA crew. And I'm never playing a game with those people again. I'm not playing a game with them anymore. They're complainers. One guy, literally, I saw him in a game pick up somebody else's figures and just move them and just drop them. I'm like, I don't have time for that shit, you know? Another guy complains all the time. Supposedly they're a really successful person in real life, but they're a freaking complainer all the time. Like, I don't want to play with people like that. And, you're going to ruin my freaking toys and shit. So, these will only be played with here. And when that will be, I don't know. It's not a priority. The therapy for me is to actually do what I'm doing. The stress would be to be worried about setting things up on time and who's going to play, and we don't have enough players and the lighting sucks and it's too loud and oh my god, this guy's going to break my shit. Like, that creates stress for me. So it would be I'd be better off like just not even doing these things if that's what's going to be the case. So I haven't played a game with them yet. I will at some point. It's not a priority for me, but it'll be here. I'm not even traveling to Mitch's. It's like I'm not. So I'm not going through all that extra work. I'm doing all the heavy lifting. So it's got to be convenient for me. And but yeah, there's a couple things that happened at Recon and Huracan that if they happen again, I'm gonna say something to somebody because some of these people, and it's not you. Some of these people have been getting away with murder forever, and I'm just like, I'm starting to get into that age where I'm like, maybe I do need to sit on the porch with a rocking chair and start telling people to get off the grass. But some people just never had anybody stand up to them, and it's like, I just want to do, and just stuff like that, misbehaving, grabbing other people's figures and mistreating them, and not accidents. Accidents happen, just not giving a shit. So, no. As a matter of fact, I'm not too excited about going. I'm not saying I'm not going to go, but I'm not too excited about going. The last time I went, I've always had a good time, and it has nothing to do with playing games. Last time I just kind of like, I like not having to do anything in particular because I can look at the flea market and I can look at this game and take pictures and, do whatever the hell I want, and I'm not on a time crunch. I'm not being rushed. So, I'm tuned in while driving. You're driving on St. Patrick's Day? Hopefully it's not to or from a drinking establishment. I said I was going to have some whiskey, but that's not going to happen. But if I go, I'll bring the train game. I'll definitely bring the train game. And no, I'm not coming on Thursday. I went on Thursday one time. I only get burnt one time. Like, I went on Thursday. Man, you got to come on Thursday. You come on Thursday. You come on Thursday. I'm like, oh, it's like, this is another vacation day, Whiskey and Coke Zero. Is that what you're having, Victor? Picking up the kid from his job. Tell him he's got to pay, for Dad Uber. How much does Dad Uber charge? I think you should let me lay into him, give him some driving lessons. Yeah, except I'm not going to be in the car. Like I got trust issues with people's driving. You not at the old Victor? You not at the cow today? The thing I realized about the cow is I really like the environment of that place. They can't make beer with a shit though. I mean, it's like a competition of like how much hops can you put in something, you know? And I tell you what, I can't go into work or anywhere else. It's been drilled. You got to wear green on St. Patrick's Day, or somebody's gonna pinch your ass. Well, not pinching your ass. That would have to be like if you were, Joanne's Fabrics and the old ladies be hitting on you or something like that. But nope, just Fridays. I understand about the people who ruin the experience. Yeah, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about anybody who you know their name. That's not true. You know one of people's names. He's just an asshole. So I don't want to deal with him anymore. You know. And then you're gonna play with my shit and you're gonna break it? No, no, it's not worth it. And I really don't want to be rushed. You know, and the noise level. I'm not used to that noise level. I think the last show I played one game, and it was Stan Johansson's Car Wars game. I had a great time, but we had a good group of people. I just tried to race. I just tried to rate, and it was like, and I kept missing going over the. I would kept missing going over the guns where the guns activated. I was just racing. It was just fun just to see the stuff happen. Everybody was, having a good time. It's like if you play a game of Munchkin with the wrong people, that's not good. Now I heard about it, but I don't want to backstab people unless you have to. We had this one game group in town. I don't go there anymore because they play on the wrong nights. They play on Friday nights, and they don't play games that involve combat. And some of the guys don't like playing games that involve dice. I'm like, you take combat and dice out, why am I even there? But it's some decent group of guys. But one of the guys would come in and they would had this vendetta against one of the other players, and his whole purpose. I don't know if there was some back history or something like that, but it was like basically if he was in a game and the other guy was in that same game, he made it his mission to kill him. Like in the game, and I'm like, you mean all the time? Yeah, it's like that would get tiresome. But I guess that's what he liked to do. So what I really want to go to, and I don't want to miss another one ever, is a model show. So going to the model meetings every month now, and I went to a model show in Jacksonville. That happened to be the same weekend that whatever the Jacksonville one is called, Rapier. I know it's not called Rapier anymore, but I'm calling it Rapier because supposedly somebody had a problem with the name of that convention. Rapier. It's a haha, on guard, right? It's a rapier. Now apparently some people complained that it was making fun of people getting raped. I'm like, all right, well, who decided to give stupid people a mouth? You know? But anyways, I'm still calling it Rapier. So Rapier, the same weekend that Rapier was, happened to be there was a model meeting, and I wanted to go to the book mine and turn some books in, trade some books in, and I went to the model meeting. And I'm telling you, the model show, they had some stuff to move. They had things priced to move. And if I was into airplanes, man, there were some airplanes. They were selling 5 models for $10. Like, that's a steal. And I just didn't want to go. I didn't want to go down a slippery slope. But I do need to do some airplane models at some point. But they're wrecked aircraft. You know, like on the ground, like derelict aircraft. You know, for objectives. Not, you know, crashed and it's, you know, that type of thing, but just like they're just sitting there and they got gunned down and they caught on fire, and you know, they burnt to a crisp right there at the tarmac. So yeah, if you run a show, if you run a game in the show, you can't say, well, I don't want, I want to select who plays in it. They won't let you do that. Well, there's some people I don't want to interact with. Sorry. They bring it upon themselves. And at our shows, I'd say it's the exception. It's definitely the exception. You know, I've played games with people I don't even know, and, you know, we have a good time. Once they realize, oh, you're not a win at all cost player. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm there to have a good time. Here we go. I don't know if I'm going to be happy with how this turns out. Because the whole reason I'm putting it here was because the numbers went off too much to the side. Instead of redoing the numbers, like, let's put a little cross back here. Let's just say I'm not disappointed. Now we got some huge delay. Oh, geez, like a 30-second delay. I can't tell if that's in focus or not. Hopefully it is. And if I do need to clean up the edges of this, what I would do is I'd do this little mixture of the Panzer Gray and the Luftwaffe uniform, which is a blue-gray. It's one of the colors that we use to highlight some of this. I'm going to mix them together. Thin it down a little bit. And clean up the edges. Perfect. Let's add a little bit more of this in it. And then when we do a light dusting over it, you won't even see this. You save so much time trying to find the decal, only to realize that you don't have the one that's the right size. It's too big, because some of these places, the decal is just too large. And you got to deal with it silvering, which isn't a big problem, but it is a problem. It is something you have to contend with. Okay. Excellent so far. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. This is 134 and does not have a commander sticking out of it. Well, for selfish reasons, I hope you come to the show, my friend. You still need to teach me Gaslands. I don't remember how to play it. I don't remember how to play it. We haven't played it in a long time. I don't remember how to play it. And it also, I came to realize that the game has a lot of loopholes. The game has a lot of like DBA loopholes that, like, what does this rule mean? You know, a lot of that. And I've just gotten to the point where if I'm going to teach anybody anything, it's going to be this game. Nothing else. Like, I'm saving all my effort for this because this is worth it. The narrative at least for me, the narrative that you get to see is worth it. But it involves, you can't run it at a convention. You can't run it at a convention. And I'm going to run it like everybody's on one side. That's so much easier. You can just ask questions freely. I got enough check 38s now that I can do a scenario, because once I finish this one, that'll give me 6. I got 3 more, that's 9. I can do a scenario that involves a beast, like one of those KVs that these guys have to, well, I'd say knock out, but they can't really knock it out. Have to try to zip across the other edge of the board. But I don't know if you realize this, but this game is actual scale. So in other words, these tanks are 10 feet away from each other, what have you. That's not like it's 500 yards or something like that. It's what you see is what you get. So when you see is what you see is what you get. You involve things like, ramming other tanks and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's recommended, but there's a time and place for everything. You might have to ram something else because your gun's jammed. All right, we're going to do some black lining here. Yeah, I went to this model show and they were selling Osprey-like books for $1 a piece, and they were like the book mine, like they're used, but they've been flipped through a couple times. I mean, they're well taken care of. You get spoiled doing stuff like that, and next thing you know, you don't ever want to pay full price for something. Yeah, I even I would play Gaslands. I just don't want to be the guy that has to run it. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's a fun game, but I don't want the headaches. And I was a member of the Facebook group, but man, there's a whole lot of people that were just whiny people to play that game. I'm like, I don't want to listen to them anymore. People need to be beat up in school, or the threat of being beaten up in school. Maybe just that. But I can't put these other conditions on doing all these other things, or I'm never going to get this off the ground. Didn't the hotel get bought out by somebody else? I think the hotel got bought out by somebody else. Was it Holiday Inn? It was somebody. Well, after that whole debacle with the sprinklers going off, I won't be staying there again. That's way too much drama for me. The alarm going off. No, the alarm going off. Alarm went off twice. That night I came really close to just sleeping in my car in the air conditioning and just leaving in the morning. I actually had somebody tell me, I asked them if they were going to come to the show, and they told me no, that they weren't, because on on many of the times of the tournament, the DBA tournament, they don't even have four players, and I'm like, what? The only time we haven't had four players at one of the shows was when we were trying to run it at Historicon. That last year we went at Historicon, I think we had one that had three players. You can still play with three players. You just round robin it. Hotel didn't change ownership, just brands within their collective. What is the typical ratio of tanks to standard troops? Um, so so to put it into perspective, every person, an average quality soldier, 80% of the soldiers are going to get two actions per turn. And what they do with that action is they can move, they can move, they can shoot, they can move and shoot, but at a only some weapons, and engage in close combat, reload a weapon, that kind of stuff. Reload a weapon that takes extra time. There's like the reloads are automatically figured in. But one of the things that can happen to you because you have a mishap is you might have to spend an action to reload. And that just means you fumbled a magazine or something like that. So if you have to burn an action to do that. And if you want to run, for instance, you move 5 inches a turn. So each soldier really can move 10 inches per entire turn if they decide to move both actions to move forward. Now they can do a running thing or something like that. So every single soldier you have is going to get 2 actions. I call them chits, okay, because we're going to put them in a bag. So if you got 10 guys, they're going to have 20 chits total, and they're going to go in this bag, and you pull them out one at a time, and that's who gets to do their thing. So it's very granular if you look at it that way. If you take a tank, so you got a Czech 38, there's 4 guys in there. So for each tank, you're going to have 8 tokens. Plus, you're probably going to have another token for the tank commander himself. So that's a leadership token that the tank commander can use. Tank commanders are at a level where they're kind of equivalent to squad leaders in that they're only going to get 1 additional token. And so basically when that token comes up for the driver can do his thing. The driver could go 2 times in a row. It's not unlikely. The more people you have in the game, the more chits you have, the longer each turn takes, and the less likely that somebody will go twice in a turn. Now, obviously, as casualties start mounting, some guys don't get to go because they're dead already. Okay, so, but generally everybody has 2 actions every turn. The tank commander, or a commander or a squad leader, because the same thing works for a squad leader, if that leadership token, which looks the same as any other ones, you're pulling one out of a bag, he can activate anybody within whatever his radius is, and as long as he is a figure of, he's within their command structure. So in other words, you can't have like a squad leader of an infantry squad that's outside the tank tell the tank crew, hey, hurry up or whatever. And what that token allows them to do is somebody within that radius or his chain of command to give them another action. So like if you've got like a junior leader that was with a machine gun, and the machine gun jams, you and that token for the leadership comes up. You don't have to wait until the machine gunner's turn comes up, chit comes up to try to unjam the gun. You can try doing that with the commander. So it just gives you some flexibility to be able to do that. So you can hustle people that need to be hustled, or that kind of thing. It's not really overpowering because it's usually just like one other action. So if you have a scenario where you've got 3 Czech 38s, that's 8, 16, 24 tokens just for the Germans, plus 1 3 command. That's 27 tokens that you have to go through before the turn's over with. Hey, the turns are good, like, the game is like 5-6 turns kind of thing, but and the same thing for the enemy tank. So so generally a person would run like a half squad. If 2 people could share a squad, so you're running games that you don't have more than a platoon on a side, and that would be probably pretty extreme. And nobody's ever running more than you could probably run 10 guys. You could run all the guys. It's just a matter of how much of do you want interacting with other people, kind of thing. But and there's some different ways to play it. There's some ways to play it where each side gets an action at the same time, but one side's going to have more turns, more actions than the other one. So the other one would end up having a bunch of dummy things. So it just creates a game within a game. I don't really want to play that. I just rather have okay, it's basically like there's a spotlight on one guy, and it can help simulate that somebody can get by unannounced, and nobody pays attention. Like for instance, what happened if you've seen Band of Brothers, what happens with Spears, where he takes off down the road towards the 88 and nobody, is like, what's this guy doing? Well, he got to go 3 times. He was an elite soldier, so he had 3 tokens, and he went 3 times in a row. It could happen, So, um, and because you're playing an actual scale, you've got soldiers that are about an inch tall and they can throw grenades about a foot away or so. So, where it bounces and stuff like that makes a big difference. But it's the game is not difficult and it's not abstract at all. So, it's one of those things. If you know how things fight, it should be easy enough to do. It's just kind of limited what you can do because somebody's going to act before somebody else. But it provides a really good narrative. But the tank combat ends up being like that movie T-34. It's all in slow motion, so to speak, but a lot of detail. The vehicles aren't that bad. And I did get the second edition, and I don't know if I like it any better. I'll have to check it out because there's some things that can be sped up. Like I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on like spotting. I'm not saying the game doesn't need to have any spotting, but that's not an area where the game needs a lot of detail. Like ultimately, you just want to see, is the guy spotted or not? So you don't want to spend 30 minutes trying to figure out, okay, can this guy see the other one? It should be pretty straightforward. But I haven't played it. It's not significantly different other than it looks like a lot of the stuff they went to D10 instead of percentile, which I am not a fan of. I am a 100% percentile fan. So, but I still have the first edition of the rules, and it didn't really change specific. They dumbed some stuff down, like they made all bolt action rifles the same. I'm like, well, I don't like that. There's a whole point, and for better or worse, the whole point is you get to play each squad. You got to play them a little differently. But that's not the kind of stuff that slows the game down. The game doesn't. I've played it a bit, and the game doesn't run that slow. The game really is slow down where you're like, okay, this guy's pinned, and you shoot him and you pinned him again. Does he stay pinned, or something worse happen to him? It's just looking up a couple situations like that. That's the weird stuff. Is like when something bad happens to somebody that they already have, they're already under some condition. How does that affect it? The rest of it's pretty much straightforward. There's actually a campaign system, not a campaign system, but kind of a series of battles, one after the other, that this other rule set did that was even more granular than this one, called Final Combat. It was really granular, but then some rules seem like they're really granular, and then they're just all they are is just have a lot of details, but they're like just vague as shit. Like for instance, this Final Combat, and I had the rules. You could like roll your characters like a role playing game, but there's stuff like roll for eye color, and it's like simple, like roll a d6, 1 to 2 brown, 3 to 4 blue, 5 to 6 green. Well, we all know that that's not the correct percentages. I mean, odds are you're going to get 75% of the time somebody's going to have brown eyes. So it's like they put all this detail in it, but then they just kind of like mushed like what the odds are of doing things, which isn't right. So you're not getting anywhere. So But a lot of skirmish games will say, "Oh yeah, it's a skirmish game," and everybody's running a platoon. Like, if you're running a platoon, you shouldn't be picking exactly where these people are standing, because you're doing things that your chain of command shouldn't allow you to do. I was reading this account, this book that I'm reading right now called "An Army at Dawn." That's about Operation Torch all the way through Tunisia. And this American commander named Friedendahl, who was not somebody, he's very unpatent like. And he was trying to deploy platoons, tank platoons for the first armored division, and the armored divisional commander basically just didn't have anything to do. He just wanted to micromanage every single thing that was happening, several echelons below him, and because he was the guy in charge, he kind of just, like left the left the chain of command without anything to do. He was trying to micromanage from 50 miles behind the front kind of thing. So you need to, kind of like DVA, you're basically running the whole army. So you don't need to concern yourself with, where the individual, units are. You just need to know if they're in good order or what have you. But anyways, this person was telling me that, yeah, they weren't really planning on coming. They weren't really planning on coming to the shows because there weren't enough people playing DBA. And I'm like, there's just some people that just they'll play it for a while and they want to play something different. So I don't have a whole lot of interest in. One of the things that burned me out of it was saying, "Hey, we'll teach anybody to come play." Oh man, that's great, man. I live in the same town that the convention's being held in. Oh, we'll see you in September. And these people would never show up. I got tired of people, talking out of both sides of their mouth. I'm being held hostage, not being able to play other stuff for these people that just never show up. So I don't carry myself that way in real life, and I just don't need to put up with it, you know. So, and that's happened with like 5 or 6 different people. So I'm like, let somebody else do it. Oh yeah, we'll be right there. Oh man, that's great. I said, man, just show up. Mitch and I'll show you what everything. We'll run some games, and oh, that sounds great. Never see him. A lot of people are just wishy-washy. They get involved in too many things. They go and they want to play one game, and they want to play another one, and that's fine to play different stuff, but it's really unsatisfying to play things wrong, at least for me. So you'll see them one time. Where you at? Oh, I'm playing Cruel Seas. Oh, you're into that? Well, next convention they won't play Cruel Seas anymore. They're playing something different. I'm like, you do what you want, but change brands out of the collective. That just sounds dirty. The collective just sounds dirty. That reminds me of when my daughter was in grade school. They give you a list a list of supplies you need to bring for school, right? Fair enough. Here's this list of these 25 items you need to bring. Cool. Markers and paste and this, that, and the other, and sheets of paper and, scissors and, all this stuff. And then when you bring all those things in, they're not for your student. They're in this collective where everybody can take from them. We're not going to buy things that are a piece of shit, and then some other parent will go to the dollar store and buy things that fall apart. And I'm like, I don't like this collective crap, And I'm like, there's things you can cut corners on. You don't have to buy the best everything. I don't buy Winsor and Newton brushes, right? There's some corners you can cut, and I try to cut as many corners as you can, because there's some things that you can't. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be frugal on, but there's some things you're going to have to, there's some things you're just going to have to buy. You can't go and buy, tires for your car that are a piece of crap, that are $30 a piece. I guess you can do that, but that's probably a bad choice, So you try to save where you can, but it was this collective, we're the stuff. Oh well, we brought the stuff in and it just got dumped in this big pile where everybody could take from it. I'm like, I don't like this shit. These rivets on this plastic soldier company, Czech 38, are so pronounced. It reminds me of, what's that plant? I think it's called a devil's walking stick. It's literally it's a plant, and it's like the stalk that looks like, it makes the thorns that are on a rush seem like, terry cloth. It's just there's no way you'd be able to grab this thing and not destroy your hand. That's what it looks like. It looks like this prickly devil's walking stick. Just really extreme looking. So after we're done with this, we're going to pick what accoutrement we're going to put on this vehicle. And it's actually worked okay, just gluing them on there and then painting them on the spot. That's worked out pretty well. The right way to do it is to do it before you paint the entire vehicle at all. But that involves a lot of planning and decision making. Yeah, I figured it'd be kind of a low turnout today. Everybody's at the bar. Well, I don't want to be on the I don't want to be on the road this day. Although it seems like when I was a kid, St. Patrick's Day was a bigger deal. Maybe all the Irish have been are getting bred out. Back in the day, people knew if they were Irish. Now people don't even care anymore. Got a piece of fluff there. Like hardly anybody on. This would be the time to say like outrageous shit you're gonna rise out of people. It'd be wasted. Nobody would be here to hear me. Stuff like anything larger than 20 millimeters, playing with dollies. I wish I would have known who said that. Somebody on the miniatures page, way back when, way back when. Might even be pre-DBA in the early 2000s. Posted that on the miniatures page. And everybody just had a freaking cow. Anything larger than 15 millimeters, playing with dollies. 20 millimeter, anything larger than 20 millimeter. As I remember, it didn't apply to me. I'm like, I stop at 20. I don't do bigger than 20. I used to go there every morning. I'd wake up, check my email. I don't check my personal email anymore. I don't get anything other than junk mail. Go to the miniatures page, see what happened. I stopped going there. It was just full of negativity. And people that are just like, several people that had made it like their purpose in life just to be like the resident asshole. They were proud of being thrown in a doghouse or whatever. I'm like, come on, man. There's way too much drama. And they started adding all those bulletin boards like food, politics. Like, why would I want to talk about politics with people that have that are into war games? Like, and when I said talk about politics, I meant argue about it. Like, come on, man. You're never going to meet any of these people. That was Jason typing for me. It's still IGH. It's just gone from a Wyndham to a Holiday Inn. Well, hopefully they put some. That's embarrassing having the double alarms. I figure somebody lit up a doob in one of the rooms, and I mean they flooded the whole damn floor, whatever floor it was. We were on the fifth floor. I think we were on the fifth floor or the fourth floor. It happened one floor above us, and I don't know how the hell we didn't have any trickle down water, but you know, I won't stay there again. It's actually, it's not I won't stay there again. It's just Mitch wanted to like go one day earlier with Joel. I'm like, well, I'm not coming on Thursday, so I'll find my own place to sleep. I'm like, I'm not sleeping at the damn hotel. So I'm not worth the shit after we go out to dinner anyways. Right about 9:30, I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed, you know? Cause a problem with reservations, but they have a new link up now. Oh, you made it home. All right, man. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, I heard people were having an issue with the reservations. I'm not worried about it. If I go, I'll stay somewhere. I just don't know where the hell it'll be. It wasn't too far away. Someplace we got points. Okay. So that's done. Now, let's figure out where we're going to put all this stuff on here. We do want to do the tools. Okay, so tools are going to go something like this, or maybe even this way. See how this turret sits on here. I'd rather not bump into this if I can avoid it. There's enough play in it isn't an issue. All right, so we're going to put the tools on that one. I'm going to put the tools there. All right, what do we got over here in this area? Let's put the normal away. We don't need to have a spill. That's just wasteful. Alright, we want to make these look different. So let's take a look at these other ones. This one's got a tarpy thing there. This one's got a can. If I put that back there, let me just grab one of these turrets. It's the same size. I'll have to keep pulling that one off that. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. So we could put that there. We could put this like so. Another one like so. This one's definitely going to need to have some ties on it. And maybe a little wrap. You got a little wrap that could fit here? We're going to block the side vision slot, so let's not do that. That'd probably be all right. I'm fine not doing any ties there. But I feel like this one needs two. Made in Pakistan. I would have never thought that. This crimped up isn't the best. Let's remove that. Maybe we'll use that at a later point, but we don't want to mess with that right now. All right, so this is the what is that? Okay. So we're going to handle this the same way we did this other one, except we're going to cut a little notch like this. Okay. And we're going to cut. It doesn't have to be in the middle. They could have done a bad job of wrapping this thing up, but let's cut a little notch like this, almost like we're trying to chop down a tree. That's going to keep this little thing in place so it's not rotating on me. All right, I'm going to pull some of this out. We do enough to do both of them. Let me cut this in half again. And then what we're going to do is, and we want a notch at the bottom. So that one's there. Let's do a notch at the bottom. That one's a little deeper. And then this one's even with this, so we'll put the notch at the bottom here. This thing's cured enough, it's almost like made of rubber at this point. All right, so we're gonna go around this. And just twist it. This is actually the hardest thing to do with any of this. Painting the tank is easy. This is a pain in the butt. It's worth it, but it's a bit of a pain. Because it shifts on you. All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to snip this as close as we can. Within reason, we need to leave a little bit of it, otherwise it'll come undone. And then I'm going to rotate, and that can be sharp. We're going to rotate this and then hide it in that notch at the bottom. Okay? And then we've got like our little strap that they use to tie this thing together. I wish this was black, like that instead of being copper, but it's not. All right, and we'll do the same thing on the other one. This green stuff is actually a really neat material. Because it's very rubber-like. Yeah, so this one will cut like this. And then we'll just lay this down in the trench, so to speak. And now when we epoxy this down, you won't see any of that stuff. And it's going to be like that. I'm actually going to use, I'm going to do it on this one too. I should have this spare wire for this. Well, that one didn't work too well. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We just won't put the tie-in on this one. A lot of this stuff that's sitting on the side isn't tied in anyways. So we're going to mix up a little bit of epoxy these things in place, and then we're going to call it a night. But at least we won't have to worry for that epoxy drying. Now, what I do have to look for is where the hell I left epoxy mixing thing tray. I just keep using the same one. It'd be easier to find this needle. I don't think we can get. Oh, yeah, you can. Can we get it to come off of here? Yes, we can. Still a little sticky, which is funny because it's got residue on the bottom, but I think that's just because it didn't cure properly. All right, so we don't need a whole lot. Something like that. And I much prefer to use these separate tubes where I can put the amount that I want on there, not like the syringes that you push them both out at the same time and you end up, it works fine the first time, maybe the second time, and after that you end up having to compensate, squeezing out more out of one side than the other. Okay. I had that brand of epoxy and I was really happy with it. DevCon, I believe is what it is. Is that what it is? Yeah. And I go to the hardware store again to get it in. Oh, we don't carry that anymore. So I had to Amazon it. I want to go to the store and get something, but stores stop carrying things, and I'm like, the show must go on, so I'll have to go to a different source to be able to get it. Okay, and then here, we're going to put some of that epoxy there. You epoxy it, you never have to worry about it again. Tool set. And then this right here. I'm actually going to make sure we have enough on there. Make sure we don't have any shiny stuff on me. Put another one there. And if I had some foresight, it would get the antenna too, but we can add that later. All right, folks, well, that's going to be it for tonight. How many people came by? I just told a little bit 150. All right, folks, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Bye-bye.